Hi guys. So today I want to talk to you all about 50 ways to change how you think. Active ways in which you can very quickly change your thoughts. So if you experience negative thinking or you have any painful thoughts in your mind and you'd rather think in more productive, happier ways, then use these 50 tricks for a massive change in the way that you think. Number one, personalizing everything. So many people personalize everything. You hear something that somebody else is talking about and you think it must be about you. Or you hear people laughing and you think, oh, they're laughing at me, even though what they're laughing about has nothing to do with you. Are you guilty of this? If so, the very simple thing to do, the way to change this is to simply tell yourself, it's probably not about me. That's number one. Two, mind reading. So many people think that they can mind read. Now, we won't get into whether psychics are real or not in this. However, the majority of people cannot mind read, and yet they think they do. You look at somebody, you interpret their expressions, you interpret their words, and you don't take them for what they're saying. Instead, you think you know how they're feeling. You think you know their minds. Stop it. You can't mind read. Three, negative predictions. Everything is going to be so doomy. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's that mindset where you think everything's going to be wrong and bad. And the easy way to change it is every time you think of one negative outcome, think of 10 positive outcomes. Number four, underestimating your own ability to cope with problems that will come your way. Obviously, there's going to be bad times in life, right? We're all going to go through trouble. But what sets truly strong people apart from not quite so strong people, and what makes some people confident and other people anxious, is the confident people know that they have the ability to cope with whatever life throws at them. Five, catastrophizing. Some people think that bad things will happen. Other people think that they're going to go through absolute hell. If you're guilty of this, you'll find that in your mind, when you think something bad's going to happen, it's not just something bad that you're thinking about. You're literally thinking that your whole world is going to fall to pieces. That's catastrophizing. The way to deal with this is to think of more realistic negative outcomes. Yes, there may be negative outcomes, but they're probably not going to see you walking straight through hell. Instead, just think about what a more realistic negative outcome would be. Six, biased attention towards signs of social rejection. So a lot of shy people or a lot of people who have social anxiety will definitely struggle with this. You focus entirely on any sign of social rejection. Somebody turns slightly away from you and you think, oh, they're trying to get away from me because they don't like me. Whereas people who think the opposite way always look for signs of social acceptance, and so they feel as though they're very popular, they're liked, they're loved. And it's a much more positive way to feel. So if you notice yourself focusing unfairly on signs of rejection, decide to focus on signs of acceptance. Number seven, negatively biased recall of social interactions. Okay, so you think back to every social event that you've gone through, and even though you've had a ton of positive social events, you tend to think on the negative events. Change that. When you think of a negative social event from the past, think of 10 positive social events from the past. That will rebalance your mindset. Number eight, thinking an absence of effusiveness means something is wrong. So, I actually used to struggle with this, by the way. So, I'm guilty of this. If you see somebody's face and their facial expression is kind of neutral, you may notice that you think that that's a negative sign because they're not smiling or whatever. They're not showing you positive emotions. So you think the negative, even though their face is showing a neutral expression. Change that. Neutral expression Think neutral emotion. It's not a negative thing. Number 9, unrelenting standards. Oh my days. Oh my days. We all know those people who have their standards and they're never willing to deviate from them. They don't permit people any lapse. They're intolerant. They know what their standards are and they think that the whole world must conform to their standards. No, it doesn't work like that, right? Let go of your standards just a little bit. Stop walking such a tight rope. 10, entitlement. Now, not to mention certain current political figures, but we all know certain people, especially famous people, especially real housewives type people, who are very entitled and they feel that they have the right to everything, that the world owes them. The world don't owe you squat. Get over your sense of entitlement. 11, justification and moral licensing. So in justification and moral licensing, what you do is you think, oh, for instance, if you're losing weight, just as an example, you're losing weight. So you say to yourself, well, I've worked out today, so I'm totally entitled to eat a massive hamburger with fries. It's that sense of I've done something right, so now I can do something wrong. But if you do something right and then you do something wrong, you haven't really gone anywhere because they balance out. Do something right and then do something else that's right. Number 12, belief in a just world. Now, it would be lovely if the world were completely fair. But if you go and ask a starving kid in Africa if the world is fair, they're just gonna laugh at you because it's a silly notion. Some people don't believe the world is fair, but they believe the world should be fair. However, even though that's ideal, it's also completely impossible because nature, life, and the world are too complex to always be 100% fair. Number 13, seeing a situation only from your own perspective. You know how every story has two sides? Sorry for swearing at you. Two sides? Some people only see their side. And then they think, well, this is what I think, so it must be true because I think it and I'm right. No. Let go of your own deluded, one-minded perspective on reality and see the other person's. Number 14. Belief that self-criticism is an effective way to motivate yourself to do better. You say to yourself, if I just treat myself like crap and say that I'm really bad at everything, then I'll force myself to do better next time. No! If you treat yourself like rubbish, you're just gonna feel like rubbish. You won't feel like doing anything. Be kinder. Kindness and compassion. Namaste, apparently. Kindness and compassion to yourself and to other people. That's the key. 15, all or nothing thinking. If I get this job, my life will be perfect. If I don't get this job, I'm gonna feel like a big pile of trash and go and live in a hole. All or nothing thinking. Life doesn't happen in a series of individual events that mean everything. Let go of the idea that this one thing, whatever it is that's coming up, it's just one part of a massive universe. It's not an all or nothing situation. 17, shoulds and musts. You tell yourself that, oh, you should have done this, or you must do this. No. For instance, if you want to be fit, you might say to yourself, well, I must exercise. That's not true. Nothing's making you exercise. You want to exercise so that you can be fit. So say, I would like to exercise so that I can be fit. Much more positive mindset. 18, using feelings as the basis of a judgment. Okay, so you feel something. For instance, you might have a symptom of anxiety, such as you've got a nervous tummy. And then you think, oh, I'm feeling that symptom, so something must be wrong. Even though actually your wobbly tummy could be just the fact that you actually haven't had your Snickers today and you're not yourself when you're hungry, right? 19. Basing future decisions on sunk costs. Okay, so sunk cost mentality is the concept that if I've spent years trying to do one thing and it hasn't happened yet, I have to carry on doing the same thing because otherwise all those years would have been wasted. For instance, you're digging a hole to look for gold, but there ain't no gold where you're digging, right? So you keep digging because you've already dug this hole halfway through the earth, so you might as well keep going. Do you understand what I'm saying? Stop digging a damn hole and move and dig a hole somewhere else. That's sunk cost. Instead of thinking I have to keep doing this because it's what I've always done, think I've always done this, it hasn't worked, I have to do something else. Much more intelligent, wiser mindset. Number 20, delusions. So delusions could be anything, right? They could range from prejudicial delusions, you know, racism, sexism, things like that, to personal delusions, like you might think you're the king of the world, or you might think you're an absolute terrible human being, neither of which are probably true. So you have this delusional mindset. And a lot of people hold on to those delusions and they force themselves to see the world in a way that conforms to those delusions. Dude, your delusion is just absolute unmitigated rubbish. Let go of it. If you know that you have a delusion, that you know that something you think about it incorrectly, and your manner of thinking is just rubbish, then change it. Come on. All right. 21. Assuming your current feelings will stay the same always. So you currently feel bad, for instance, about your job, let's say, right? So you say to yourself, I'm always going to feel bad about this job. Even though you're just having a bad day, you woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Tomorrow's another day. You'll probably feel a totally different way tomorrow to how you feel today. So don't think in your mind that the way you feel right now is the way you will always feel. 22, cognitive labeling. So cognitive labeling is where you think a descriptive term for another person. So for instance, you might see somebody and think they're a loser, even though you shouldn't think that way, because everyone's a person and has their own right to be an individual, and we're all beautiful, individual, unique people. So if you suffer from that, just tell yourself they're not a loser or whatever, they're just different to me. And different is good, because the more colors we have in the world, the more beautiful the world will be. 23, halo effect. For example, thinking that high-calorie foods are still okay if you have them with... No, I've said this totally wrong. Okay, so the halo effect is, for instance, where you eat an unhealthy food and then you say, well, that's okay because I also had a salad. So if you eat a 10,000 calorie pile of ribs covered in honey garlic sauce. Sorry. I love you, honey garlic sauce. Don't ever change. So you eat something that's really bad for you, and then you say it's okay because you had a salad. Or you do something that's terrible, and then you say, well, that's okay because I did this slightly good thing anyway. No! Stop doing a terrible thing. Only do the good thing. 24, minimizing. So there are those people, you probably know one, who do something amazing, like they'll run an ultra marathon, then they'll act like it's not a big deal. Like they'll say, oh, it's, you know, it was just a jog. I just ran 100 miles, but it was just a jog, you know? No. Credit yourself. You do something awesome, say, damn, I just did something awesome. Give yourself a little mark of distinction. Put a smile on your own face for the awesome stuff that you do. 25, magnifying, which is also cognitively exaggerating. Okay, so this is the opposite of the other situation, where you take one thing and you blow it out of proportion. You might say, well, I ate a salad today, so now I'm the healthiest person in the whole universe. 26, cognitive conformity. Cognitive conformity is seeing things the way that the people around you see them. So if you're living in a place where you've got 10 people who are completely out of their mind, who think the world is flat, then you're going to think that the world is flat just because they do. Stick to your own thoughts and your own beliefs. Don't just go with what other people think. 27, overgeneralizing. So overgeneralizing is where you take one basic idea and you apply it to everything. So for instance, if you want something done, do it yourself. That's just a general idea. And it's often correct, right? But it doesn't apply for all situations. However, some people will take an idea like that and apply it to everything. Stop it. There's no one-size-fits-all situation in life. 28, blaming others. Oh my days, you definitely know somebody who does this, right? They blame everyone for everything. And even when something is so obviously their fault, they're still just gonna blame somebody else. Stop it. 29. Falling victim to the foot in the door technique. So this is when somebody makes a small request. So for instance, hi, can I, you knock on your neighbor's door. Hi, can I borrow a little bit of sugar? And they say, yeah, okay, here's some sugar. And then you say, oh, hi, can I borrow a little bit of milk? And then you say, yeah, sure, it's just a bit of milk. And then you say, oh, hi, can I borrow your car? And because they've gotten in the habit of saying yes, 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 they're going to say yes to the crazy request. This is something that so many people suffer from. And actually, a lot of people abuse this and use it to their advantage to get things that they want. So you can look out for that as well. If people are coming at you and asking for a little request, slightly bigger request, and then this massive request where they want your whole soul, say, oi, no. Don't fall for that. 30, falling victim to the door in the face technique. So this is when somebody makes a crazy request and then you say no to it. Like, oh, can I have your house? Well, no, because it's my house. And then they make a follow-up request. Oh, can I have your bike then? And then some people will think, oh, I said no to giving them the house and that wasn't very nice, so I better say yes to this other crazy request that they've got absolutely no right to make. You know if you do this, right? I know some of you guys have done this before. You've had a crazy request fired your way. You said no, and then you're like, oh, that wasn't very nice now, was it? Oh my goodness. And then they make another request for something else that's crazy, and you say to yourself, oh, well, I said no last time. Can't possibly say no this time. I better just give them all my savings for no reason because I didn't give them the house. Focusing, number 31, focusing on the amount saved rather than the amount spent. If you go to the mall, you know you're going to see those signs where it's like 40% off. And then you look at what it is, and it's like a toothpick for $1 billion. So you're saving several hundred million on a toothpick, but you're still spending millions on a toothpick. You know where I'm coming from, right? So many people fall for this. Just because it's got money off doesn't mean you're still not going to be ripped off. Focus on what you're spending, not what you're saving. Number 32. Overvaluing things because they're yours. So this is where you own something and you think that it's the best one ever because it's yours. So for instance, if you have a pair of Nike runners and every other person at the gym has the exact same pair of Nike runners, you think, well, clearly mine are the best because they're mine. 33. Failure to consider alternative explanations. So this is where you have an idea in your head of the reason for something and you stick to it relentlessly, even though there are tons of other reasons why something might be the case. So for instance, your friend doesn't come to your party. Oh, they don't like me. When it's probably because they're just busy or they've had some event that means they can't come. But in your head, you're going to stick to it just because it's what you happen to think. Number 34. The self-serving bias. This is something that egotists suffer from a lot. Self-serving bias is where you think that if something good happens, it must have happened because of you, because you're just such a freaking awesome person. Right? You know people who think this. You know people who think that anytime something good happens, it's them. Couldn't be anyone else. It couldn't be, because they're just so damn good that it must have been because of them. Number 35. Failing to consider that somebody else's actions are actually circumstantial. In other words, you see somebody angry and you don't think they've had a bad day, you think they're an a-hole. Number 36. Failure to consider the opportunity cost. For example, you spend an hour doing something with a low return on investment that doesn't pay off in any way, but then you don't consider other ways of spending that time, other ways of getting a higher return on investment for what you've been doing. 37. Assume similarity, assuming that everyone else must be exactly the same as you. Number 38. In-group bias. In-group bias is the mindset in which you think the people who are similar to you are better and people who are different to you are worse. 39. You don't know what you don't know. This is the inability to realize that there are flaws in your knowledge, things that you don't know, and that if you just knew those things, everything would be easier. Number 40. The tendency to underestimate how long something will take. Do you spend hours trying to get something done that you thought would take 10 minutes? If so, reconsider how long everything that you do is going to take. Number 41, the belief that worry and overthinking will actually solve your problems. Worrying about something does not create change. However, so many people think that it will. Stop thinking that worrying will solve the problem. Number 42, biased implicit attitudes. Psychologists use a test called the implicit associations test to measure attitudes that we subconsciously hold. Now, the results show that, for instance, people associate overweight people with being lazy, even though there are tons of people who are a little bit overweight who still work their butts off. 43, the peak end rule. This is the tendency to most clearly remember things that happen at the end. So, for instance, if you go on a vacation, for instance, and you have an argument with your partner at the end of the vacation, you'll probably look back on it and think that the entire holiday was just arguing the whole time, even though it might have been a really great holiday except for the end. Try to remember things that happened before the end. Number 44, the tendency to prefer familiar things. You're willing to stick with something that's bad because you're familiar with it, as opposed to finding something that's new that might be good. Let go of the familiar and welcome the new. 45. The belief that you can multitask. Oh my days. Still, on job boards and all over the place, people claim that they can multitask. Job seekers ask specifically for people who can multitask. But the fact of the matter is that science has proven that multitasking is impossible. Nobody can do it. When you think you're multitasking, you're actually just jumping from one thing to the next while achieving very little. Multitasking is not a thing. Let it go. 46. Failure to recognize the cognitive benefits of restorative activities and activities that increase positive emotions. So some people work themselves into the ground and they don't think how beneficial it might be to just chill out for a day or so, or to take a week on vacation. They rather keep working their butts off until they're completely drained and then get ill than take a break. Wisdom says take a break, chill out, get healthy again, rest, and then you'll be more productive when you go back to work. Number 47, positively biased predictions. This is where you think that everything that you do is going to have a good outcome, even though it might have a bad outcome. Sounds pretty good, right? It sounds optimistic. But it also leads to a lot of mistakes, because if you always think that everything that you're going to do is going to have a positive outcome, then you're going to do all kinds of risky things that do not end up serving you. Number 48, cheating on your goals based on positive behaviors that you're going to do later. So for instance, let's go back to weight loss. You're going to lose weight. But you tell yourself, tomorrow I'm going to go to the gym. So today you eat a donut. You then don't go to the gym tomorrow, so the only thing that's happened is that you put on a little bit of weight. Focus on now. Mindfulness is all about focusing on now, right? Focus on the thing that you can do now. Go to the gym now, have the donut later. Or, even better, go to the gym now and then beat the craving for the donut later, so that the only thing that's happened is that you've lost weight. 49. Repeating the same behavior over and over again and expecting different results. Einstein said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. But so many people do it over and over again, and then they wonder why nothing's changing. Change your behavior and your outcomes will change. And then finally, number 50, I can't change my behavior. Oh my days. So many people think that they cannot change their behavior, that they're just set in their ways. However, if you believe that you're set in your ways, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, self-fulfilling prophecy. So the belief that you can't change will actually mean that you can't change. Whereas you actually stop and think, I have changed and I can continue to change, then change will become possible. And there you are, 50 cognitive behavioral therapy exercises, ways to change your thoughts. I've been doing this a lot myself recently. It's made a massive, massive difference, guys, let me tell you. So give these 50 ideas a shot and leave a comment and remember to subscribe.